here to make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Making news just for you. It's February 7th here in Seoul. I'm Shin Yeun, and this is News Generation, where we make the news at Arirang's very own open studio. Every morning, we'll discuss the top issues and latest current affairs affecting people in their 20s and 30s. Joining me in the studio is Kim Xiang.
Good morning, Yeun.
And Nao Song.
Hi, everyone.
Both are here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. Every day, we do make a news feed for the new generation, and we're looking at the top trending hashtags on social media over the past 24 hours. Here they are. The first hashtag is Grammy Awards. BTS fans were holding their breath to see if the K-pop boy group would finally win an award. Though the group did get nominated for Best Music Video and Pop Duo Group Performance, they lost to Taylor Swift, Sam Smith, and Kim Petras. Meanwhile, Harry Styles took home Album of the Year and Best Pop Vocal Performance. The second hashtag is telecommunications. The country's three main telecommunication companies said there was no problem with connections on the day of the tragic Itaewon crash last October. This was in response to criticism that the three companies failed to disperse telecommunication traffic when many tried calling the police for help. The National Assembly received information that telecommunications traffic soared by 280% on the day of the tragedy, and that many people had sluggish phone service and a poor internet connection. The last hashtag is Mount Washington in New Hampshire in the United States. Mount Washington Observatory on Saturday saw temperatures drop to a record low of minus 78 degrees Celsius. That's even colder than the previous record from 1963. Now, Mount Washington Observatory provided video filmed by its webcam. The strong winds and heavy snow made the area look like Antarctica. Weather analysts say the conditions would have made temperatures feel at least 30 degrees lower than the new record. And it's not just the United States that's been seeing severe weather this winter. In Korea, we've also seen historic cold snap warnings. So if we extend talks here in the studio, have you guys ever felt the effects of climate change? Or in other words, have you experienced, Nael, extreme weather conditions?
Yes. I mean, honestly, just moving back to Korea after high school, that was a drastic climate change by itself, because I lived in Casablanca, Morocco, where they have lovely climate and never goes below freezing point. I mean, rarely ever, even during winter. And when I lived in Kenya, it was actually also a very mild climate because I was at a high altitude area. And when I came back to Korea, the winters were just so cold. And it's getting colder every year, right? And the summers keep getting hotter. So I have to keep layering up, and I think I maxed out on how many layers I can put on at a time.
Definitely. And even though temperatures might not be as low as minus 78 degrees Celsius, a big drop in temperatures can be deadly. For instance, in January, 146 people died in Taiwan, and the country's record low was only at minus 4 to 5 degrees Celsius, but it was still a drop of more than 10 degrees Celsius. So, Xiong, I'm wondering if you've ever also experienced a sudden change in temperatures.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, back in 2019 as well, was one of the coldest winters in South Korea. I was serving as a police officer back then, and the last day of the year, actually, the New Year event at the Poshingat bell ringing and stuff. That's when I was stationed for that day. There was an overnight shift as well, and a lot of our fellow officers suffered from frostbites as well. I mean, because also the question sometimes asked by people is, why is there global warming if the winter is getting colder? But I mean, global warming makes winters both colder and warmer depending on where you are on the globe. Study published in Science Journal in 2021 also suggests that the warming of the Arctic causes the stratospheric polar vortex to disruptions in stratospheric polar vortex, which causes disruptions linked to extreme cold weather in parts of North America and in Asia as well. So, I mean, regardless of cold or hot, extreme weather conditions are what we should look out for in sense of climate change. It's also a big assignment for the younger generation as well, as we'll be affected the most in the coming years and decades as well.
Right, tackling climate change, especially amongst our generation, is important, especially for the next generation as well. Now, thank you both for making our news feed for today. And speaking of drastic temperature changes, we've seen even colder temperatures than minus 78 degrees Celsius here in Korea. Our job market has been freezing up for quite some time now. We have a video ready for you explaining our topic of the day. The cold has arrived. Where? The job market in Korea. While we've been seeing a big drop in the birth rate, it seems like there are fewer job opportunities for the younger population. South Korea's unemployment rate rose to an 11-month high in December 2022. Statistics Korea also reported some grim news last May. They found that life wasn't easy for salaried office workers either, as many rushed to take on side jobs due to soaring costs of living and prolonged inflation. Statistics Korea found that the number of multiple job holders reached an all-time high of 629,610 in May. This was a 65% jump compared to 2 years ago. Today NewsGen looks at 3 questions. 1. Why is South Korea's unemployment rate increasing? 2. What type of jobs do the younger generation consider as being good jobs or one they can settle for? 3. How are companies or recruiters responding to this? As we saw in the video, today we're going to be talking about the job market here in Korea. It's definitely getting tougher to find your perfect or lifelong job with high unemployment rates and also soaring job transfer rates. Even around me, my friends are divided into 2 groups. One that are looking for jobs while being unemployed. The other one looking for extra jobs or a new job while working at another company. What's it like for you guys?
I mean, yeah, for me, many of my friends are also professionals as well. A lot of them working academics as well in international organizations or different universities and things like that. Quite a few work in the finance sector as well, with some entrepreneurs having their own startups in different sectors. I mean, quite a few of my friends are also musicians and artists as well. And those type of occupations sometimes require another stable job to more conventional job in a sense to make their ends meet at daily life and have a stable income.
I see. And what about you now?
And actually, a lot of my friends are freelancers as well, and I think it's because they failed to find the perfect work-life balance, good pay, and everything they're looking for in a job, and so they end up doing a freelancing job, and they seem to have more than dozens of jobs at a time. But I think they choose it because they have this sense of control over their lives.
That's definitely true, and it's really hard to find a new job, right, Xiong?
It is.
And how many people couldn't find jobs over the past few years, and what's the reason behind that?
Right. So let me give you a bit of data for the perspective as well. According to Ministry of Employment and Labor of South Korea, in the past 10 years, peak youth unemployment was at 426,000 in both years of 2016 and 2017. That figure actually gradually decreased in 2022 down to 272,000. So in percentage terms, we saw a peak at about 10%, 9.8% in those years, 2016, 2017, which decreased to about 5.2% in the most recent figure published in December last year. So according to OECD, actually Korea doesn't even make it to the top 10 of the youth unemployment rates. A lot of these countries are basically countries with a good social benefits, countries in Europe such as Italy, Spain, Luxembourg as well. Costa Rica actually makes it to the list quite often, along with Greece as well. But the reason why Korea suffers from the youth unemployment problem is it roots from Korea being quite advanced now. It's being developed as well. And developed countries experience a decline in GDP growth rate usually. That hinders a lot of the activities and corporate activities that might be able to gain extra staff members and things like that. And also the fact that we're going through currently the COVID-19 pandemic-related economic crisis.
Definitely.
As well as our generation gone through the IMF crisis in the end of 90s, the 2008 financial crisis as well. And the companies want just a few number of highly qualified and efficient workers instead of having to conventionally train everybody, year after year. Also, SMEs, small to medium enterprises in Korea, are quite low paying with long work hours, which isn't government regulated as they do with the bigger corporates that exist in South Korea. So I mean, if you seek work-life balance, it's difficult for you to actually apply to those jobs. Aging society is also a problem. More experienced workers tend to be older people. So those people, and we live longer as well. So our retirement age is getting higher as well. So it's more difficult for younger people to look for
Yes.
jobs.
And because of that, a lot of the younger people are having multi-jobs. That's why we
Definitely.
call them multi-job holders
Right.
here in Korea. Now, could you first explain what this means?
So I think there's just mainly two big types of multi-job holders. One is the survival type, where you don't get enough pay, so you need multiple jobs, so you
Right.
have multiple ones. Like you said, if they're searching for a permanent job, but they have multiple ones just to survive, that's the survival type. And then there's those who are seeking to expand their careers
Right.
and have experience and more experience in a shorter amount of time. So they are using the maximum hours of the day to really stack that experience,
To get
that
more
in there.
qualifications.
That's
and
right.
things like
Yeah.
that, I guess. Yeah.
Right, and exactly how many people in Korea then, Xiong, are
Right.
these multi-job holders?
Yeah, great that you mentioned this side hustle trend, actually, Ian. Let's have a look at the screen. According to an open survey conducted in March last year, on a sample of 500 currently employed youth aged up to 40, about 1 out of 5, exactly 23%, have side jobs on top of their main jobs, whereas 6.2% said that they are interested in a side job, whilst the 15% said they are not interested.
Wow, 62% said that they're not interested?
No, no.
They are
They
interested.
are interested.
They are.
Exactly. I mean,
Wow.
only 23% currently have. So about 20%, one out of 5 people actually have a side job currently.
I see.
If we look at the next. The next CG, we can see what kind of side jobs the millennials and Gen Zs prefer. Out of the choices where multiple responses were possible, 46% said they would like to be a social media creator or influencer.
The dream job.
Exactly, yeah. 41% said selling products on online or offline marketplaces, as well as 33% on delivery driver for foods and packages.
Right.
Right.
And at only 17%, they opted for the option of part-time work at convenience stores.
So multi-job holders is definitely a growing trend among the younger generation.
Definitely.
And now I hear that there's a lot of consulting or free counseling options out there, starting
Right.
from universities, right?
Right.
What's it like here in Korea, and if you could compare it from abroad?
Yeah, I mean, even the university campuses that I've seen, they have regular one-on-one consulting with people about how to find better jobs or how to even do the application process, because a lot of us are clueless when we're seniors in
Definitely.
university. And there's, on a government level, Korea also provides courses that you can take, or the government provides the fees all the way up to $4,000 US for you to take courses on anything from programming, barista, like how to make
Wow.
coffee,
Right.
how to give haircuts, and how to use Excel spreadsheets. And it's provided by the
practical
government.
skills as
very,
well.
very practical skills that will help you to get your job that you hopefully want. And abroad, I've seen similar cases, like in the UK, they also have a government-funded thing where people can go and take courses on agriculture, medicine, and taking care of other
Right.
people and social work and things like that. So does Canada. They have government-funded employment training programs,
see.
and it's kind of a similar idea as the university programs that I talked about earlier, but it's government-funded. And there's also many private consultants. If you see on YouTube, I mean, there's a lot of people who's giving out free tips on how
Free
to
tips
do
and
well on
Interview
interviews,
skills,
how to
yeah.
dress, how to do your makeup even. So there's a lot of resources out there.
Exactly. There's even like personal color stylings
That's
too.
right.
Right.
Right. And why don't we use this time now to expand our discussion to include an expert in corporate-related issues? We're now going to use this time to talk to the head of Korea for GP in Asia Pacific. She's also in HR. It's Sarah Park joining us through Zoom. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Sarah, what are some of the economic drawbacks that will arise from a continued low employment rate among the younger generation?
That's a good question. There have been many talks on the global talent crunch situation in the last 2 years, where terms like the Great Resignation and quiet quitting were used to describe the situation. The talent crunch as a percentage of the economy is most pronounced in the Asia Pacific region, where a Korn Ferry survey estimated that the Asia Pacific labor shortage can hit 47 million by 2030.
Wow.
Gen Z is actually expected to take the tech world by storm, and the demographic currently accounts for 30% of the global population and 25% of the workforce. Thus, a slow employment rate among this generation will definitely impact the global economy in terms of unrealized economic output, and also the worsening of the global talent crunch situation. In fact, in the Asia Pacific region, the Korn Ferry survey estimated this unrealized output from the global talent shortage to be at approximately $4 billion US by 2030, which is quite a big number. With the Gen Z being a big portion of the population, low employment will definitely have a negative impact on the economy.
And if I can ask our panels here to also ask you a question.
Sure. I mean, Sarah, it seems a lot of companies or business owners are also looking for employees as they're short on staff. But it's quite ironic that a lot of the younger generation are expressing concerns over low employment rates. What are the younger generation looking for in the workplace? Are companies responding accordingly to this demand?
Right. So although the Gen Z population is growing in numbers, engaging and drawing them towards companies can be a challenge. Gen Z is directly influencing employers to tear back those decade-long policies that no longer resonate with today's human-centric workplace. They like company culture that focuses on equality and corporate social responsibility, as it's important to them to work in companies that align with their own personal values and beliefs.
Right.
In fact, Gen Z is leading the great migration, so companies must revamp outdated policies to attract that quality talent. We've also seen that the Gen Z generation switches up job roles quite a bit. The older generations tend to stick to the same industry and specialize in their industry of choice, but Gen Z, however, likes to try out different roles, and we do see them switching around in terms of industries and job scope.
That's true.
And Sarah, so how can we help to raise employment rates amongst the younger generation? And are there any suggestions for, relevant policies that we can implement?
Good question. So many companies are offering internal job rotation to keep Gen Z employees engaged and interested. As we mentioned before, the switching around between roles is something that matters to Gen Z talent. So companies can also stave off boredom by providing learning and development opportunities for Gen Z talent. As they are true digital natives, this generation really values interactive learning and expects technology to play an instrumental role in facilitating a wholesome training experience. So companies can utilize what we call gamification and other video-based collaborative technologies to really engage Gen Z talent. And talent acquisition teams themselves can additionally leverage technology to create an automated and personalized HR experience that can attract premier tech talent.
Wow. All right. Thank you so much,
you
Sarah,
very
for your
much.
insights.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Sarah.
All right. Now, if we bring the discussion back to the studio, what did you find most interesting amongst what Sarah just said?
Yeah, I mean, a number of very interesting points, definitely. I mean, she did give great figures regarding sort of the global youth unemployment rates and things like that. But what I focused mostly on was the issue of sort of professional migration. So a lot of the younger generation, actually including myself, I mean, I'm trying out this role. I've just become a journalist since last year as well, working for a couple of different stations as well. And it was quite a fast transition. So I think this trend of migration between jobs is definitely a trend, is definitely happening. Also the fact that she mentioned gamification in the HR process. I guess I've tried a few different HR processes where they do have a metaverse setting. And you got to set up your own avatar and you got to walk around to different booths to talk to the HR managers and things like that. So I think there are a lot of changes in the working culture, especially in looking for jobs as well, that's happening today.
Right. What about you, Niall?
It was so interesting that she mentioned interactive learning and how Gen Z and millennials even are so interested in that. And she talked about wholesome training experiences, and going along with that are values. And I think we value interactive, non-toxic working environments, and even going along with that is the work-life balance. It's not that we want to slack off, it's that we would like to do things efficiently, we would like to do it in a healthy manner, and we want the most out of the product.
All right. Now, given that we are a live morning program, we always ask our viewers questions related to our discussion topic in advance as well, and we use this time to share with you what they had to say. So we asked our viewers what they struggled the most when they tried job hunting. Asian Prince said the most difficult part of job hunting is preparing for his resume. During his interview, the boss asked many questions, checked out what schools he's attended and what degrees he's had, so it took him a while. And Raul also said the most difficult part of job hunting in my country is finding the balance between payment and work hours. Kyung Kim said many popular Korean companies don't even read the application essays until they pass the first stage, but still ask us to submit thousands of words to begin the process, which is strenuous. Now, very briefly, Xiao, what did you think about this comment?
I mean, interesting points. All three of them very interesting. Asian Prince especially. I mean, I've been through the same process of having to write a CV. And it's strenuous a lot of the times, and they have different sort of formats that they want, different templates you got to fit into, and that could be very difficult. And because the job hunting the platform is getting extremely more competitive, you need to have better schools, you got to have better records, better experiences.
Right.
Everybody asks, even if you're applying for the very basic role, the basically an associate role, they ask for years of experience in different sectors. What did you do as an extracurricular activity? All sorts of things like that. So it seems like it's getting more difficult, and I do connect with Asian Prince's comment as well.
All right, let's wrap this up for now. Every day we do upload questions related to our discussion topic for our viewers to answer. And if you want to participate, please search Arirang News on YouTube and look into our community tab. The link is right below. Now, we've already come to the final part of our discussion for today. And I think everyone here in the studio can relate to today's topic because it directly affects us and the younger generation. And now I would like to hear your final thoughts on this ongoing youth unemployment crisis.
Yeah, and I think it's that we have these standards for a perfect job where they pay us the perfect amount and give us the perfect amount of break, and that's why a lot of us struggle to find that job, and maybe that's why we distribute it amongst multiple jobs. And I really hope that in the future that we can actually come to, put all of that together into one job in the end.
Definitely finding a good job, as Sarah mentioned too, that promotes equality and CSR.
Right.
All right, today we talked about what the younger gen looks for in the workplace and the ongoing unemployment problem that still needs to be solved in Korea. And we'll be here every day from 9:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you the topics that young people are talking about. Special thanks to Kim Xiang
My pleasure.
and Niall Song.
No problem.
And special thank you for everyone watching. We'll see you tomorrow. We are
News Generation.